Good morning, everyone. David Starr here, and I'm really looking forward to today's session with you. And what I'd like to do first is welcome you to this discussion about creating virtual machine offers to sell in the Azure Marketplace. Now, I'm David Starr, and I'll be walking through the VM offer model from the ground up. And I'd be delighted to hear from you. So use the email address here and feel free to reach out. Now, just a little housekeeping before we get started. I'd love to take your questions about today's topic at any time. So feel free to post them into the chat, and I'll do my best to keep up with them. And if you have general marketplace questions as opposed to what we're talking about at the time, I'm happy to talk with you about those toward the end of the presentation. Now, that's enough preamble. Let's jump into VM offers on the Azure Marketplace. All right. Let's start with a quick look at what we'll cover today. We'll first take a very quick look at offers and their structures on the Azure Marketplace, and then we'll go quickly through the technical architecture and requirements of virtual machine offers. I think you'll find these requirements surprisingly straightforward. And Partner Center is the portal that you use to create and manage. Oh, there we go. Partner Center is the portal you use to create and manage your marketplace offers. We'll see how VM offers are created and published in Partner Center. Lastly, we'll see how to include other resources, like say a managed database like Cosmos, in your virtual machine offer deployment. So with that, let's get started with offer overview. We'll start with a few points about the Azure Marketplace offers in general, and then cover a few non-technical elements of VM offers specifically. All right. Now, an offer is what people find in the Azure Marketplace when searching for your products. And an offer includes things like a description of your product and the marketing materials, like images and videos, to let people understand your product's functionality. Now, offers have plans. See if I can get them there. And plans are the things that are actually purchased. For example, this product has 3 versions or SKUs that may be purchased: a standard, team, or enterprise plan. Now, since there are many different versions of a product, plans are where we define pricing, or there may be different versions of a product. And so for VM offers, each plan has a unique technical configuration because you'll want to deploy a different VM for each plan. Okay, private offers are a whole nother topic, but they're really cool because they enable you to sell with negotiated pricing and make custom deals with your customers. And you can package accordingly the entire offer that you want to make available to them. Now, private offers enable you to include specific plans, for example, the standard plan from our original offer. And you might include more than one plan from different offers if that fits your sales model. And since we have since we create a specific private offer for each customer, pricing is unique for that specific deal. Now, it turns out, in fact, most of the deals that occur on Marketplace are private offers. Now, there are 4 transactable offer types in the Azure Marketplace, and they are SaaS, virtual machine, container offers, which run on Azure Kubernetes service, and finally, managed applications, which enable deploying Azure-based resources like database, networking, and VM offers even. And we'll have a little bit more on this later. Now, of course, we're focusing on virtual machine offers, so let's start going deeper on that topic. Here are some things to know about VM offers. 1, deployment is into the customer tenant, and this means that the customer pays for the cost of running the VM over time. Now, the simplest way to get started creating a VM offer is to start with an Azure hosted virtual machine or an Azure based image. Uh, these are known as Azure based images, and you can install your software on them to sell. So, this is no different than going out and creating a virtual machine on Azure, maybe through the portal, and you've got yourself a running base image. Now, of course, supported virtual machines include both Windows and several flavors of Linux. Now, a VM can be free if you so choose, or you might choose flat rate like $100 per month pricing. You can also price your VM according to usage. And this includes things like per CPU size, and even specific pricing per CPU size within a specific market. Now, virtual machine software reservations are another pricing option enabling your customers to sign up for longer term commitments. When a customer agrees to a 1 or 3 year commitment, the monthly cost of the VM may be priced at a discount lower than the typical pay as you go model. The technical requirement to create a virtual machine offer, those requirements are fairly straightforward. I'd venture to say that anyone familiar with VMs on Azure can complete the technical requirements of a VM offer. Now, when a VM is deployed into a customer's tenant after purchase, some other things get deployed as well. There are networking components like virtual network and a public IP address, also the drives associated with the virtual machine. Even though the steps to creating virtual machine offers are straightforward, there are several of them. So let's see what they are. As we mentioned, we start by creating a VM in Azure using an Azure-based VM image like Windows Server or Ubuntu. Then we apply the latest security patches and updates to the machine. Next, add your software to the virtual machine and make sure it works as expected. This is a time to do some testing on the VM. Next, we generalize that virtual machine to create a new base image that the customer will actually install. Now, tools for this are different per operating system. So on Linux machines, you'll use WA Agent, whereas on Windows, you'll use sysprep. So capture your image into a compute gallery. So your generalized virtual machine image now is deployed into an Azure Compute Gallery, and this is a repository for VM images, and then lives in your Azure tenant. In this Compute Gallery, you'll need to get some basic permissions that allow the Azure Marketplace to access your image. And I'll show that in just a few minutes when we go live in the demo. And now head over to Partner Center to associate your VM image with a marketplace plan like the enterprise plan in our earlier example. And finally, you'll publish the offer, which will submit the VM image for a security review and then publish the VM to the marketplace. And now that we have a generalized VM image in an Azure Compute Gallery, it's time to configure Partner Center. Now, as we've mentioned, Partner Center is the portal you'll use to create and manage your marketplace offers. There are several steps to creating an offer in Partner Center, and this list is not all inclusive, but these are the major activities in the process. Set up your TNCs or terms and conditions, upload assets to make your offer stand out, provide descriptions for the overall offer and for each plan associated with that offer, set pricing for each plan, and configure the technical aspects of each plan. Now let's take a look at Azure and Partner Center to see the elements of a VM offer. We're going to start here in Azure. I'm inside a resource group that I've already created, and within it is my compute gallery. So this is where I've already created my virtual machine elsewhere. I created an image from that by generalizing the machine, and then I stuck this into a compute gallery. And you can see here that I have a VM image definition already in place. Now I'm going to come up to access control because we talked just a minute ago about the idea that we have to add a special permission to our compute gallery. So if we view that, you can see that we've got the Microsoft Partner Center. Here, let me open that up just a little bit. Microsoft Partner Center Resource Provider. Now we add this so that the marketplace can reach out to our image gallery and pick up on our image, and we can associate that to our plan in Partner Center. All right, so with that, let's jump over to the Marketplace Offers section of Partner Center. And within this, we can see two things. We can see our standard set of public offers and private offers. We're not going to go into private offers too much today, but I mentioned that they are for negotiated pricing purposes. So this is our standard offer set, and I'm going to select this Cumulus 26 VM image so that we can look at the different aspects of setting up a virtual machine offer. I'm going to jump right to properties over here on the left, which gives us the opportunity to select categories that go along with our product. This helps them show up within the Azure Marketplace when people are browsing and such. And then here, we can use the standard contract for T's and C's from Microsoft, or we can supply our own terms and conditions. Alternatively, we can use this standard contract and then add our own amendments to that standard contract, and you can actually add more than one should you choose to do so. I'm going to let go of this, and we'll move on to offer listing. We'll leave this page. Offered listing is where we include many of our assets that show up on the offer page so that we can show the best version of our offer that we can, or our product. So what does that mean? Well, we've got the name of our offer, search results summary. So when people are searching for your product in Marketplace, this is what they'll find initially. And then here's a short description, a bit longer description, and then a privacy policy link. This privacy policy needs to be publicly exposed on the internet and made available here. Let's see. The next one is a contact form. So Cumulus 26 has this contact form in place, and that's what we're using here. We've got a partner support contact so that people can reach out for support, and then engineering contact so that if something's going on with the offer, we do have an engineering contact that can be reached out to. Now down here, this is interesting too, because we upload these images to our offer such that they appear on the offer page. And next, we have the ability to add videos. So you can add videos of your product in action. We've got the ability to do that here. And so if you look closely, we can put in a name for the video, and then this has to be hosted on either YouTube or Vimeo, and then we just put the link to that video here. And we can have, I believe, up to 5. Yeah, it says right here, up to 5 videos. And then we upload a thumbnail for the video that we're going to have on our offer page. All right, so I'm going to let go of that video, and we'll just move into this section called Preview Audience, which is where we define who can test this offer before it goes live. And what we do with that is put in an Azure subscription ID. And so anybody that is on that subscription can come in and test purchase this offer. And I'll show you how that's done in just a few minutes. So here we've got our production and development tenants or subscriptions, I should have said, but these subscriptions are on different tenants to enable our team to come out and test this offer before it goes live. Now, the last thing we're going to look at, but a little more involved, is plan overview. Now, we've only got 2 plans associated with this offer. We could have many. We could have that standard and enterprise model that we talked about earlier, silver, gold, platinum, something like that, whatever your SKUs are. We've got 2 here, one of which is hidden, and I'll talk about hidden plans in just a moment. First, let's start with this standard plan, which is going to look like most of the plans you would create for a VM offer, and it's got a name, plan summary, and plan description, just like an offer has. And we can see in pricing and availability. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting. We have to go through we have to make some decisions here about how we want to sell our product. And the first thing we do is select a market. I've selected the United States. However, you can come back and select things like all of the markets in which Microsoft will pick up the taxes for or charge the taxes for you. I'm going to cancel this and or you can select all, in which case, let's say you're doing business in Belize. You may be on the hook for collecting the taxes from that customer who is in Belize. So I'm going to cancel this. And we get down now to the actual pricing model. So we've got 2 options here. One is usage-based build plan, and the other is BYOL, or bring your own license. Were I to choose bring your own license, that makes this a non-transactable offer, meaning that people could procure it or buy it, but the purchase process does not qualify for certain Azure customer benefits like co-sell or MAC, which will be the topic of future webinars we hope to bring to you. Now, the next thing we do is select a price after we've selected usage-based, right? This is what we always want, usage-based monthly bill. So that makes it transactable. Now we can come here and set the actual price. Now, because this is a demo, I've set my price at free, but you might also choose to set it at flat rate, per CPU size, or per that other option that I mentioned a moment ago, per market and VPU size. And now we can set effective dates. We're going to just leave that blank so that it is continuously available. And then we get to plan visibility, which might be public or private. Now, if we set this to private, you get what we referred to a few moments ago as a hidden plan. And what that means is that, or I'm sorry, here we go, hide plan. That's what gives this to us. The ability to hide the plan from browsing within the marketplace, the Azure Marketplace front page. You won't find it there, but we can deploy it via another mechanism, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, I'm sorry I skipped over the plan visibility there for a moment. And plan visibility simply means that I'm selecting public here, which means it will show up in that Azure Marketplace portal search, or I can select private. Now, if I select private, that means I can put in information, and I've already published this offer. So forgive me, I'm unable to show you what private looks like because I've already published it and it's locked in my options. But it turns out that this option, private, here we go, private, would allow us to put in information to target this offer to just one customer. And we don't want to necessarily use this. I'll be honest, it's sort of a legacy way to offer custom deals to your customers, because we now have that private offer capability. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to this private plan bit. Instead, let's use private offers to offer that custom negotiated pricing. Okay, so that's all the pricing decision making that we have to do there. And now we can head over to technical configuration. Technical configuration is how we associate a virtual machine image, the one we've already selected, or the one you saw a few moments ago, I should say, with our plan. And so we have a few things that we can start with. Reuse or change technical configuration means that if you have multiple plans, then you can select the technical configuration to copy over essentially from another plan. We don't want to do that. We're going to set up our own. We're going to set up our own technical configuration for this plan. And in doing so, we select the type of image we use to create our virtual machine image. And then down here, we add a VM image. So this is where we associate the actual image that we created earlier with our plan. And so I'm just going to take a look at this. If I select the image version, you can see that the gallery is the one we were looking at earlier. The gallery name, EC Compute Gallery, you may have noticed when we were looking on Azure. Oop, let me get that back up. And this is the virtual machine image that we chose and the version of that thing that goes along with it. Now, I've said all along that we should be creating our virtual machines from Azure-based VM images. That's all that means is you kind of the same thing that you're used to. You go out to Azure, you say new virtual machine, what kind, a Windows server, an Ubuntu server, what have you, and I create that. And we install our software on it. You go through the flow that we mentioned earlier. Alternatively, you can start with your own virtual hard drive or VHD file that you might create locally. I will tell you that the process of working with your own VHD files not in the Azure cloud is a lot more involved, and I strongly recommend sticking with that Azure base image technique. Okay, so now we tell it what did we use, Linux or Windows. In this case, we used Linux, and then we get to choose what variant of Linux we used. Could be any of a number of them. I chose to use Ubuntu for creating this image. And then we can select the VM sizes that we want to recommend to our customers. And we can come out here and select the actual VM sizes that are going to be displayed as preferred for the product that we're selling. So our VM runs best on these virtual machine sizes, essentially. And that doesn't mean the customer is restricted to the virtual machine size that we recommend here. It just means that these are the recommended sizes. Okay, and then we can add ports. I've not done so, that we want to open for people to use. And with Linux, 22 for SSH is already open. For Windows, remote desktop ports are automatically opened. So we don't have to worry about those. But if you have some other port that you need to open on this machine, this is where you can do it. And now there are several things that several properties of our virtual machine that we might select here. You don't have to, but here we've selected a couple. It supports VM extensions. So those are extensions that we might add to our virtual machine through through Azure. And I also selected supports remote desktop through SSH. Okay, great. So that's going to be available to the customer once they install the virtual machine so they can get into it and make configuration changes or work with the VM should they need to. All right. This security type for your VM is different types of virtual machines have different security types. And I just go with none almost always here because trusted launch, and confidential are just different ways to secure your VM. But we've already kind of done so. And you can learn more about it by checking out these links: trusted, launch, and confidential VM. Now I'm going to jump out of all of this and head back to the front page of our offer. Now, what I've done earlier is I hit this review and publish button, and I'll bring it up again. When you make changes to your base offer or a plan, they will show up here. And so you might see that my offer listing, it considers my offer listing page incomplete. And you can see it's got a gray check mark here. So I need to jump over to my offer listing and complete that section. The other sections that do have pending changes are green, which means they're complete and ready to publish. I can give a note down here to the certification team about my VM. Now, what that means is that there is a team that's going to take a look at your virtual machine offer. It's going to be subjected to security scanning and things like this, and you can provide information to that certification team so that they might take things into account during their certification process. Okay, so I'm not going to publish this because I've done so already. And what I'd like to show you is the process that we go through after publication. So we publish through that review and publish screen that we just looked at, and then we go through these steps. First, automated validation, wherein there are some basic checks applied to your virtual machine and to the offer itself. Did you include valid descriptions? Things like this. I'll tell you that I have, for example, used lorem ipsum type text in my descriptions for test offers. Did not get through this next step, which is manual validation. So this manual validation steps are going to take a closer look at your virtual machine offer and go through it with a real human being. Now we go through, assuming we pass these steps, private creation or preview creation, pardon me. And what that means is that we're effectively, or the marketplace is effectively creating a little sandbox for you. And that sandbox is sort of a pre-published testing area. So this can take a little while as we provision that little sandbox for you. And now that we have passed that, we stop the publication process at publisher sign off. It's going to pause here. And when we do that, we get the ability to click these links, which will take us out to the offer through I'll call it a temporary or mock purchase page that looks exactly like you'll find it via the Azure portal or through the Azure Marketplace preview, or through the Azure Marketplace, I should say. Okay, so I can go out, and then I can go out to these links, and the people who I've specified, remember over in the preview audience list, or the people on the subscriptions that are specified here, can click this and actually make a test purchase. After I'm satisfied with the testing of my offer, I can click go live, and that go live will then take me into the process of putting my offer into the Azure Marketplace, which can take some time. Provisioning is up to 4 days. It doesn't typically take that long, to be honest, but it can be. And that is soup to nuts the process of creating an offer in Partner Center and then publishing it and seeing those stages it's going to go through on the way to publication. Now, I haven't published this offer live, as you can see. That's because it is a demo offer. Okay. Now let's jump back over to our slides. So we went through VM offers in Partner Center. Let's take a look at our last topic, which is how do I create VMs with, or how do I deploy a VM with other Azure resources? So I might want to include, like for in this case, I might want to publish a virtual machine, but alongside of, and it might have my proprietary software on it, right? That's the idea. But I might also want to publish alongside it an Azure managed version of PostgreSQL. I'm just using that database as an example. Could be other Azure resources as well. And it starts with publishing a VM, just as I've described already. Incidentally, the offer might be hidden. Remember, we talked about hidden offers, which will make it available to your deployment, but not visible in the Azure Marketplace. Next, create a second offer in Partner Center that points to the VM offer for deployment and defines the other resources to deploy. Okay, this is done with ARM templates and some other files that together create what we call a deployment package. You may be used to using managed applications, or you may use solution templates. These are two different offer types, but they both are under the umbrella of Azure applications. Okay, so let me go through that again. As I create my second offer, it's going to be of type either managed application or solution template. And both managed applications and solution templates are considered Azure applications. So when you go into Partner Center and create your new second offer to accommodate this, you're going to create an Azure application, and then you select, well, it's going to be a managed app or it's going to be a solution template. Now, the difference between these two is that you may charge a monthly maintenance fee through managed applications, but solution templates don't provide such a mechanism. And truthfully, odds are that the customer is going to be managing that VM. That's in most cases, not necessarily all, but the typical deployment model is such that once the VM is deployed, it's going to be managed by the customer. Templates are typically unless you're going to apply a subscription fee. All right, now we are going to look at using a solution template to deploy a virtual machine and other resources. There are two players in this transaction: the Azure Marketplace itself and the customer or the VM. We'll start with our VM offer already created with either visible plans, doesn't matter. Then we create a solution template offer. In this case, our solution template offer only has one plan. And A solution template plan contains the deployment package we mentioned earlier, which itself contains the ARM template that's going to point to our virtual machine plan, and it's going to find the other resources we want to deploy. This is what the deployment package referencing our VM plan. So within the package, that template has a way to say to deploy the VM offers standard hidden plan. And it can also define the other sources such that when this solution template offer is deployed, it creates a new resource group inside the customer tenant that contains not only virtual machine defined in a virtual machine offer that we're pointing at, but also any of the other resources we might want to deploy, like additional compute, like storage accounts, or even databases like Cosmos or Postgres, as we mentioned a moment ago. All right. With that, we're kind of closing in on the end of this discussion, and we're going to go through a quick overview of what we just covered real fast. VMs are deployed to the customer's tenant. Customer pays the cost of running that VM. I strongly recommend using the Azure base image to get started. I've said that several times. You can use a VHD to create your final image, but the process just, it's far more involved and brings some unnecessary complications. We want to use Partner Center to create an offer and associate it with your VM image with its plans. And finally, we saw you can deploy other resources alongside your virtual machine using an Azure application. Now, if you'd like help creating your virtual machine or any other offer type in the Azure Marketplace, reach out to us at Cumulus 26. We're committed to providing the best experience possible that you can have when working with the Azure Marketplace. And we know the marketplace inside and out because our team members have been inside Microsoft working on the Azure Marketplace itself. So use the contact information shown below to start a conversation with us about how you can succeed in the marketplace. And with that, I'm open to any other questions that you might have, and you don't need to limit them to the topic of virtual machine offers. And I'll wait just a moment here to see if anything comes in. All right. Doesn't look like there are too many questions today, so I'm going to just jump into our last slide and say thank you and ask if there are any more questions that I can offer for you or answer for you. Please reach out to this contact information that you're seeing now. Although I am getting a question here in chat. Let me actually put that up on the screen for us. Julio's asking, do you also help setting up professional services? Meaning, I suppose, does our organization do that? We absolutely do. Cumulus 26 can absolutely help you with that. The thing about professional service offers is that they are a way to define what services you might offer in addition to the product that you're selling. This could be learning services, it could be installation services, any number of service types, but they are packaged with a private offer. So in other words, I don't create a private offer and just sell it on its own. Typically, I'm going to go into a private offer, select that plan that I want to sell at a certain rate, and then I'm going to select a professional service offer that I've also created, but is only visible within that private offer construction page. So can we help you with setting up a professional service offer? Absolutely. But one thing to keep in mind is that as of today, and this is just for now, I understand, they are limited in professional service offers are limited to being used with SaaS offers exclusively. So that's something to keep in mind when you're thinking about setting up a professional service offer. Okay. With that, I'll just say thank you for attending today's session on VM offers, and we look forward to hearing from you at Cumulus 26. Head out to our website and see a little bit more about the services we offer. Hit our contact form or hit me up directly at david.star@cumulus26.com. And with that, I'll say thank you so much for joining us today. This has been great.